Hey, what is up? In today's video I'm gonna cover everything you need to know about Klaviyo flows, how to create them, what they are, and all the components of flows that you must master if you want to get more sales for our e-commerce brand. So let's get right into it. First, in Klaviyo, to go to flows, you just have this bar on the left hand side, you click on the flows, it's gonna redirect you to this page. If you're using Klaviyo for the first time, this page is gonna be empty. I have already made some flows before when I was recording a bunch of other videos, but other than that, if you want to create a flow from scratch, you just click this black button, create flow. It's gonna redirect you to library of flows, and I'm shortly gonna cover what flow is, but I just want to tell you how to create one. So there are a bunch of pre-made flows that you can use. They're made by Klaviyo. Most of them are okay, but if you want to create a new flow from scratch, you just create from scratch. You press this button and it's going to direct you to the page when you can just play with a bunch of data, metrics and triggers. But right now let's just focus on using pre-made templates. So let's say we want to use welcome series. You press on welcome series, it's going to take some time to load it. You can obviously play with naming whatsoever. You can also change the trigger, which is list, but for now let's just assume that newsletters are a main list where new people are being added. You can also add flows, for example, for reporting, they're gonna be useful. So you can say it's like pre-purchase flows. You can create this tag and add it right there. And from there you can just create flow. It's gonna create the flow for you. Now, what the flow is. So to put it very simply, flow is an automated email sequence. So if you look at the structure of the flow, you have a trigger, then you can have some conditional splits, although they're not necessary, and then you have emails. So basically, flow is like a salesman that is selling for an e-commerce store 24/7 days, over and over again, and you don't have to do anything once you set them up. Obviously, to maximize the revenue and potential of flows, you want to be constantly improving them, A/B testing, and so on and so on. But overall, once you set it up, it's gonna be performing for you month over month. So as you can see here are the basic components of the flow. So trigger, this is always gonna be here. So in order for flow to launch, you need to have some sort of trigger. In this case, for the welcome flow, trigger is gonna be people joining your email list. In this case, our email list is called newsletter. That's why, and when someone joins this list, they are gonna enter this flow, and after they enter this flow, they are gonna be going step by step. So in this case, we have some conditional split, but for now, let's just remove it. I'm gonna cover it slightly later on. But the basic structure of the flow is like someone joins, which is the trigger. Then we have email, time delay, email, and you can keep adding time delays, whatever you want to do. You can keep adding emails and so on and so on. But right now I want to focus on the trigger a little bit. So we also have something called flow filters. So not everyone that joins this flow must be receiving this exact email. So as this is welcome, let's assume this is welcome series for new customers. That's why the overall trigger is someone subscribes to newsletter. But there are a few ways where people can join your email list. So first one is obviously a pop-up sign-up form that you have on your website. But then there is the other one, which is checkout. So when someone is actually checking out on your store, they can just check this little box in Shopify which says subscribe to email list. Then they will be entering this flow as well, which is not something we want to do, it's not ideal. So what we can do is apply an additional filter. To do it, you just have to click on the trigger, once again, then you have flow filters, and you just add a flow filter. Then you have a bunch of conditions. So in this case, it would be someone has done or has not done. You would do placed order 0 times since starting this flow. So this way, if someone joins the newsletter, they join subscribe through checkout, but they haven't placed the order overall, they're not gonna get this flow. What I like to do though is just have placed order 0 times overall time. This way you know that if someone is even existing customers, they're not gonna be getting welcome flow for new customers because it doesn't make sense. Then you can apply with some other different triggers or flow filters. So for example, someone has done, there's a bunch of metrics that you can use, like received email, clicked email, placed order, cancelled order, added to cart, active on site, viewed product, checkout started. All of these metrics can be either a trigger or a flow. I'm gonna show you later on what I mean. For example, if you would have abandoned checkout flow, it wouldn't be a filter, it would be an actual trigger. So that's what someone has done or has not done. Then you can obviously play how many times they've done it and like what is the time period of them taking this action. Then you have properties. So let's say your store sells to people in France and in the US. So you don't want to have the same flow for both those countries because people in France most likely prefer receiving emails in French. So what you would do, you would just select a property, let's say country equals, from Poland, so it's going to say Poland, but if you were from the US, you would say United States, right? And you would have this property for those people. Obviously, you can also either do equals or doesn't equal. There are a bunch of other settings like contains, doesn't contain. You can play with links as well, but overall, if you wanted to send this to people that are only in US, they would have country equals United States. Obviously, you have a bunch of other properties, so city, when someone joined, first name, last name, what time of products they viewed, and so on and so forth. Then we have other filters, so if someone is or is not within the EU, you're probably very rarely gonna use this one. Then someone's proximity to location, if someone is or is not in the list, if someone is or is not suppressed for email. Usually, to be fair, I don't use this filter because I segment the list anyway based on if someone is suppressed or is not suppressed for the email. Then you have predictive analytics about someone, so this one is cool as well, but you can use it for creating a separate flow. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it for the welcome flow. And then you have random sample. So as you can see, I canceled it, so it didn't save the country filter, but this is how you play with filters. Then you have a bunch of actions, timing, and logic. So those are all the things that you can play with. Actions obviously is gonna be email, SMS, update profile property, notification, and webhook. So email, pretty straightforward. If you want to send an email, you just drag and drop it. That's it, right? Then within the actual email, you have a bunch of other settings. So smart sending is something that enables or disables you to send emails to people who have received it recently. So you can change it in settings. By default, I think it's 16 hours, but you can change it down to like 1 hour. What it does is that, for example, if someone received an email at 9 a.m. And you have this setting turned on and smart sending for your store is 2 hours, and you send the email at 10 a.m. And you have it turned on, they won't receive this email because smart sending is turned on. This setting is used mainly to prevent people from receiving multiple emails and from spamming them, because if you have it turned on for all of your emails, then ultimately if you're sending a lot of campaign flows and you have wrong filters, what may happen is that people will be getting a ton of emails in the same hour or even day. So you definitely want to consider using that. For the welcome flow, I wouldn't personally recommend doing it because this is your most important flow. So yeah, you have to adjust it based on the flow. Then you have UTM tracking. So this is purely for tracking purposes. It's still not that accurate. Obviously, there are other platforms like Google Analytics, Triple Whale, or whatever. But you all know that attribution and tracking is a huge issue right now. Then you have additional filters, and these filters are pretty much the same thing that I covered previously, which was for flow filters. So it's almost the same. The only difference is that you're applying it to the email, the one specific email, not to the entire flow. So let's say that for the email number 2, we won't turn off smart sending, but we don't want to send it to people who already bought from you. So you would have placed order 0 times overall time. This way, those people who already bought from you wouldn't get it. Now, obviously, you already have this flow right there. But for example, if it was abandoned cart checkout, you would apply this filter for all your other emails, because if someone already bought a product from you, there is no reason for you to keep sending them emails over and over again about their abandoned checkout, because they've already purchased, so they would just get annoyed. So that's about the filters. Then obviously you can change the subject line, create an A/B test, or edit the actual email. If you press edit email, it's going to redirect you to a new page where you play with the entire content. So subject line, preview text, sender's name, sender email address, CC, BCC, all this good stuff. You have preview on mobile and desktop. You can also create a bunch of A/B tests. So that's it. I'm not going to be covering how to create emails because that's a topic for another video. I want to cover flows entirely so that you understand every single setting of the flow. Now that you know how to use emails, you can also have analytics where it's going to redirect to a new page, but this is a demo account, so I don't have any data, so it's kind of pointless to try and analyze the data where there's no data. Then you have the same actions for SMS, notifications, or webhooks. Notifications are for push notifications if you're using them. SMS, if you're using SMS, you can do it as well. It's going to have similar settings to email with one difference that they have like quiet hours. So usually I recommend still turning this on so people aren't annoyed and you don't get a fee, like penalized with a fee to pay because you send email, SMS where you weren't supposed to do it. So yeah, other than that, the filters are the same, the settings are the same. So that's how it looks like for SMS. I'm gonna delete it for now just for the video purposes. And then we have something called update profile property. So what you can do with this one is add custom properties to profiles, which then will help with segmentation. So I use it specifically for the welcome flow. Then you have update existing property, remove existing property, and create new property. So if you have update existing property, you're gonna have to choose which property you're changing. Let's say we are changing unengaged from true to false, right? So anyone that enters the welcome flow and previously had already existing property which says unengaged true, it's gonna change this property to false. If this is a new person, they won't have any properties that you wanna change probably, but what you can do is create new property. So in this case, I would create something like in welcome flow, and then you can have a bunch of other variables for the property. I just use text and yes, not yet. Yep. And right now, if you set it to active or live, anyone that enters the welcome flow goes through this profile property setting, and every single time that they go through it, they'll have a new profile property. So then you can segment people who are in the welcome flow, and they'll just have in welcome flow equals yes. Then at the end of the welcome flow, you would have another update profile property, but in this case, it wouldn't be create new property, but update existing property. Then you will just have in welcome flow. So right now it says no results match, but this is because there are actual no people with this property. That's why it's showing it this way. But then you will just have it in welcome flow. I can type, I'm not going on, in welcome flow. You would have it right. I can choose it. Normally you would be able to choose it, and then you would say no or false. Doesn't matter. Both work. You would have it, and then you would set it to live as well. This way you're tagging those people, and it's way easier for you to create segments and adjust the content of campaigns based on their customer journey, whether they are in the welcome flow or not. Then another setting of the flow is time delay. So I again drag and drop like pretty much anything on the left hand side, and then you can configure a bunch of other options. So you have hours, minutes, days, and you set time delay. Then you have a few other options, which is delay until a specific time of day. So if you turn it on, for example, you're gonna do 9:30 p.m. It means that if someone entered this flow at, let's say, 3 p.m. today, and you have time delay 1 day, it's not gonna send the email at 3 p.m. the next day. It's gonna wait until 9:30 p.m. So if you know that, for example, your audience reacts the best to emails at 5:30 p.m. and this is when you send campaigns, you can change this setting to the specific time that's working the best for you. Then you have also like delay until a specific days of the week. So you can play with, for example, you don't want to send it on the weekend, so you would have only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right? So this is how you would do it. And then people after this step, after this time delay, we would need to wait. So if someone entered, let's say on Friday for the first email, and then you have a time delay, let's say, like, just imagine that these are, let's actually drag it so I can show you what I mean. Let's say someone joined the welcome flow on Friday, they received this email, and technically we're waiting 1 day, so they should receive an email on Saturday. But as we have this delay until a specific day of the week, then they will receive this email on Monday. And the other emails don't change, like obviously you would just need to adjust settings, but that's how it works. Then you have conditional split. So this one's actually quite important as well, because it allows you to, again, segment those people already in the welcome flow. Main things you're gonna use, main filters, is what someone has done, properties about someone, or random sample. I covered all of these before, but now I want to cover random sample. So this is how you run A/B tests within the actual flow. So you can include different metrics. Let's say you already have a great performing welcome flow and you don't want to make like a new flow that's gonna be underperforming quite a lot. So what you can do is include the custom amount percentage of people entering this new and old flow. So in this case, let's say this one is proven welcome flow, so 70% of all recipients would be entering this one, and then the other 30% would be entering this one. Another thing you can do is just play with drag and dropping this thing, so you can disconnect it as well. but the best way to do it is, for example, if you're testing time delay, so let's say where you having a welcome flow, or where you're just testing the time delay in the welcome series for second email, right? So right now we have wait 1 day until Monday. We don't send on weekends, and then you just have wait 1 day, or actually just for the sake of the example, doesn't make it different. So you're testing time delay, which one is better? If you should be sending second email 1 day after the first one or 2 days after. So you have 50% random sample, wait 2 days, wait 1 day, and let's say that you only want to test it for 1 email. So what you would do, instead of like copying all the structure, you would just drag this part right here, and then you have just the A/B test for this one single email, and all the other emails are going in the same order. So that's it. That's how you run A/B tests. These are the main things about flow. Now I'm gonna show you a little bit more about the actual other flows like abandoned checkout, abandoned cart. But overall, I think I covered everything you need to know about these flows, and obviously you can change the name of the actual flow if you want to play with that, just to make sure everything is perfect and looks extremely good. But yeah, other than that, this is how you do it. So now let's go into the other flow. I'm gonna show you a few other settings that are gonna be helpful, especially if you want to make your clients or your brands more revenue right away. So let's say we're creating a new flow, and for this purpose, it's gonna be customer win back. So again, it's pre-made one. So you can just wait, it's gonna be customer win back, trigger is praised order, which is fine, and then you create this flow. It's gonna take a little bit, usually it's not too long, depending obviously on your connection and whatnot, but overall this is how it looks. So right now, as you can see, you have something extra called trigger split. So we can have a different split based on the actual trigger. So let's say that the value of the purchase previously equaled $100. So if someone placed an order where value of the order was higher than $100, you can send them this sequence, but if the value was other than $100, then you would send it here. For value, I wouldn't do equals because it's gonna be very tough, but for example, it's less than. So if someone bought for less than $100, they're gonna get this customer win back flow, and if someone bought for more than $100, they're gonna get this flow. Again, you have to be changing settings for all of the flows, but one thing I want to tell you is important thing, which is back-populate flow recipients. So what it means is that if you create this customer win back flow today, then you would need to wait 75 days for someone to receive the first email. It's quite a long of time. You would need to wait 2.5 months to actually send out this email. So in order to get data, you would have to wait for a long time, because this email is gonna be sent 3 months after someone bought from you initially. And we don't want to wait that long, so what you can do is go to manage flow, backpopulate flow recipients, and then backpopulate flow. What it's gonna do, it's gonna say success, your flow has begun backpopulating, and it's gonna be taking people in their journey and inserting them into the flow. So if someone bought from you 74 days ago, they're gonna receive this email tomorrow. We don't have to wait anymore 75 days in order for them to receive it. It's gonna happen right away. It's gonna happen quickly based on their actual customer journey. So I recommend you do it for every single flow that you can. If you're using dynamic coupon codes, then you won't be able to do it. But for the flows where you're not using this dynamic coupon code, I recommend you do it because it's just gonna give you this kickback of the extra revenue right away, instantly, which is extremely powerful. So yeah, that's it. Now I'm gonna show you how to create flow from scratch, what are some of the metrics, how you can apply with that, and all this good stuff. So again, we just go to flows, create flow, and we're gonna create flow from scratch. Let's say it's gonna be site abandonment, right? Because this one is not a default flow from Klaviyo. And again, you can add a tag, which is pre-purchase. You don't have to do tags. I just do them for the sake of reporting. It's easier later on. So yeah, once you create the flow from scratch, as you can see, you have a bunch of things. So list, segment, metric, price drop, or date property. Date property, as you can see, people will enter based on specific date, then price drop. So once you have a discount site-wide on the store, if you had an item that cost $50, right now it's 45, people are gonna enter this flow, it's gonna trigger. Then you have metric, which I'm gonna cover shortly. Then we have list or segment. So list is when people are added to list, like for example, welcome flow. Segment is when people are entering specific segment, like VIPs, or dynamic segment, which is important. It's dynamic. This one is static, this one is dynamic. If people are entering segment like VIPs or unengaged. I have another video about how to create sunset unengaged flow, so if you want to do it, click, it's gonna pop somewhere on the screen, so just click it and watch it. Now, in this case, we're gonna use metric. So metric is all those things that I was talking about later. So you can choose any metric that you want in order for this flow to be a trigger. So let's say that we want to trigger this flow when someone was active on site. So they didn't view any product, they were just active on site. So then you have trigger filters, so you can add this. Right now I'm gonna press save, and then you have flow filters. So what I like to do is add a different flow filters. As you can see right now it's only value. So you could just do it for people who bought for, who are actually viewing. So okay, in this sense doesn't make sense. I mean, in this case it doesn't make sense because people didn't buy yet. But with other flows you could play with trigger filter as well. But right now we're gonna use flow filters, and you want people who are active on site but didn't view the product. It's extremely important to do it this way, because if you won't have any filters, people who enter this flow are also gonna be simultaneously abandon the browse flow, abandon the cart flow, and abandon checkout flow. So you want to, and possibly, or maybe post-purchase flow, which is customer thank you. So we want to add appropriate flow filters to make sure that they are not getting a bunch of emails from a bunch of different flows and just leaving them confused. So we are going to be using flow filter, what someone has done or has not done. Then we have viewed product 0 times since starting this flow. And you can have or and logics. In this case, we're going to use logic and. So we're going to use someone has done, hasn't done, added to cart 0 times since starting this flow again. Then someone has done checkout started 0 times. So you just have to remove all those metrics to make sure that people are not being bombarded with a bunch of emails that they shouldn't be getting. So right now we have placed order 0 times since starting this flow. Yep. And then we have one more, which is has not been in the flow. So for the welcome flow, we didn't have it because people enter welcome flow only once. But for dynamic trigger like active on site, people can be entering the flow over and over and over again. Imagine that we're browsing a website today and tomorrow, then you would be entering the site abandonment flow 2 times. So we don't want to do that. It's gonna be annoying. So I don't really like using it at any time. I just like to exclude people in the last 30 days. So they are gonna be entering this flow once per month, which I think makes sense and it's quite healthy. So yeah, that's the setting for site abandonment. That's how you apply with flow filters to make sure that all the people are getting the right message at the right time, and they're not getting emails from a bunch of flows. Then you can obviously just do the same thing which we've done before, which is time delay. Let's say we're gonna do 30 minutes, and then you just have email, and you could be playing with this email with this flow over and over again. You can backpopulate it as well. So yeah, that's how you create it. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I think I covered everything you need to know about flows using Klaviyo, but if you have any other questions or concerns, let me know in the comments down below. I'll always read them. But other than that, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and check out my other videos like Klaviyo case studies, guides, and so on and so forth. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and take care. Bye!